Tom set up his sniper rifle and aimed at James, who was not far away. Just as he was about to pull the trigger, he realized that James had unexpectedly ducked out of the way. Just then, as Tom prepared to take another shot, James was suddenly hit by someone else and fell into a pool of blood. Chaos erupted at the scene. Tom understood that he had become a scapegoat, so he put away his weapon and got ready to leave. However, a group of police officers burst in immediately and, without a word, shot Tom dead. After confirming that Tom had stopped breathing, the sheriff dismissed the other officers. He then pulled out a glass vial from his pocket and dumped a matching bullet casing onto the ground, shifting all the blame onto Tom. Meanwhile, the real culprit had already blended into the crowd and made a quick escape. Not long after, Interpol arrived at the scene because the victim was the bank president of a multinational bank that was secretly laundering money for the world's largest arms group. Sheriff Nick had been keeping an eye on them for some time. He went to the area where the bank president had been killed and inserted 2 straws into the bullet holes. Through ballistic comparison, he realized that the bullets had come from different heights, one from the hotel where Tom was, and the other from the rooftop where the real shooter was situated. The rooftop offered a clear view and an easy escape route. Using his years of investigative experience, Nick deduced that the shooter had fired from that rooftop. He and his assistant dried up the water stains on the ground and successfully extracted a footprint. Tests showed that part of the shoe's sole was made of metal, and Nick discovered that a similar footprint had been found at another murder scene from the previous year. He had encountered the killer once before, and they suspected it was the same person. However, finding the culprit based on this clue alone would be like searching for a needle in a haystack. But Nick was no ordinary investigator. He took his assistant to the airport, knowing that after the crime, the killer would likely try to leave. This meant that they would have to remove their shoes during security checks. The two began reviewing airport surveillance footage, and after a thorough search, they finally spotted the suspect. However, the individual was extremely cautious and had deliberately avoided all cameras, leaving no footage of his face. Just when everyone was at a loss, the investigators received good news. They had located the cobbler who had made the custom shoes. At the same time, Nick's informant embedded in the bank was about to report when suddenly a shadow flashed past him. Within just 2 minutes, the informant was violently ill and collapsed on the ground. By the time Nick arrived with the news, the informant had already stopped breathing.